Since Jamal didn't come from money, Tyler always felt like he had to look out. Not as a necessity to appease Jamal, but simply he was his brother, and he wanted them on the same level, as he would put it. Never allowing Jamal to feel left out or left back. But Jamal, being as stubborn as he was, a lot of times would turn the favors Tyler did for him down and proceeded to get it on his own, whatever it was at the moment. Jamal had a hustler's ambition from the womb. Tyler being the one to splurge off his mom and dad, Jamal showed Tyler how to get it on your own, in case mommy and daddy say no. Tyler teased at times. They would make money together in the fall, raking leaves for the neighbors. In the winter, they'd shovel snow, even though it wasn't much. Some lunch money, maybe a video game or two. They sold candies too, hustling in ways that surprised them both sometimes. But their friendship had always survived the small arguments, mostly over video games and sports. Tyler was all about the Lakers. Jamal repped the Wizards naturally because they were the closest NBA team to his hood. And then there was the time Tyler's dad took them to a home Wizards game a few years back. That was special because Tyler's dad wasn't the kind of guy who was all about sports. But that night, it felt like the universe had given them something to hold on to, something that was just theirs. You gonna show up tonight, or what? Jamal asked again, bringing Tyler back to the present. Yeah, Tyler said, shrugging as he picked up his backpack and started toward the corner store. I'll meet you there. Gotta do something real quick. Tyler pulled out his phone to text his parents to let them know he'd be eating with Jamal's family tonight. He wouldn't dream of telling them about the cookout. They wouldn't approve. It wasn't that they didn't trust Tyler. They didn't trust the streets. Jamal didn't wait. He was already heading toward a group of guys standing on the corner, talking loudly, laughing, and shit. Tyler caught up with him a few steps later. Jamal dapped them all up, and they both walked off together. The streets of Gum Springs told their own story. The houses were small but cared for, with neat lawns and colorful flower beds that spoke to the pride of their owners. The older kids hung out on corners, their voices low as they watched the world go by. Moms sat on porches, their conversations laced with laughter and the occasional shout at a misbehaving child. Jamal and Tyler walked past the corner store, where Ollie leaned against the counter, waving at them through the window. He'd been running the shop for decades, selling everything from candy to phone cards, and he always had a story to tell if you had the time to listen. Y'all staying out of trouble? Ollie called out as they passed. Always, Jamal replied, flashing his trademark grin. Tyler just nodded. The summer brought a different kind of energy to Gum Springs. The cookout at the community center drew a crowd, the smell of grilled ribs and burgers mixing with the sounds of laughter and music. Families gathered, the kids running wild while the adults shared stories over plates piled high with food. There were spade games going in one corner and dominoes being slammed in another. Kids made water balloons and incidentally threw them at non-participants. Tyler and Jamal leaned against the fence, watching the scene unfold. As the evening wore on, Jamal was pulled into a conversation with some older kids from the hood, leaving Tyler to his thoughts. He scanned the crowd, his eyes landing on a group of girls near the picnic tables. One of them caught his eye, a girl he hadn't seen before. Her presence was commanding, and she moved with an easy confidence, her caramel skin glowing off the setting sun. Tyler didn't know her name yet, but something told him she was about to shake things up. As the night stretched on, the cookout buzzed with life. The thrum of bass-heavy music mixed with laughter and the sizzle of grills. Tyler found a spot by the fence, his eyes following Jamal, who was deep in conversation with the group of older boys. The way they huddled, leaning in close, wasn't lost on Tyler. He'd seen that same scene play out before, quiet exchanges, quick glances over shoulders. Jamal was always drawn to the energy of the streets, the allure of being somebody in a world that often made you feel like nobody. Across the yard, a burst of laughter drew Tyler's attention. It was Vicky. Vicky Kruma had a presence that couldn't be ignored. Born to Ghanaian immigrants, she carried herself with the kind of poise that felt both regal and unapproachable. Her parents, Kofi and Adwoa, were meticulous about how they raised her. Kofi worked as an architect for a firm in Alexandria, and Adwoa ran her own small business, importing West African textiles and crafts. Their success had afforded Vicky a life of comfort, but they never let her forget the value of hard work. Everything you have, Kofi would tell her, comes from sacrifice. Remember that. Vicky's home was a contrast to much of Gum Springs, pristine, filled with art and artifacts from their homeland, with the scent of jollof rice and plantains often wafting through the air. It wasn't that she was disconnected from her community, but her parents had built a bubble of security around her. They expected excellence, and Vicky delivered. She was top of her class, a budding gymnast, and one of the best-dressed girls in school. Pam Daniels, her best friend, lived on the opposite end of the spectrum. The Daniels family had been in Gum Springs for generations, and Pam's mom worked as a hairdresser out of their kitchen, among other things. Her dad wasn't in the picture, and with two younger brothers to look after, Pam learned early how to be a source of support. Vicky didn't mind. Pam's quiet nature made her the perfect companion, always listening, always following. But even Pam knew her role. Vicky was the star, and she was the supporting cast. Why are you always hanging with her? Jamal had asked once, watching Pam trail behind Vicky at the community center. She don't even talk. She don't need to. Vicky had replied with a shrug. That was the thing about Vicky. She didn't waste time explaining herself. Tonight, Vicky stood out in her crisp white sneakers and a denim jacket with rhinestones that caught the light every time she moved. She was laughing at something Pam had said, a rare moment of Pam being the one to draw attention. Tyler couldn't hear what they were talking about, but he could feel the energy radiating from them.